I don't know about y'all, but I get stupid overwhelmed when it comes to cleaning my house. Like, irrationally overwhelmed. And I feel like it's kind of cliche to say now, but when I heard this said to me at first, I was really angry, but then everything really began to click. Your outward environment is a very good physical expression of what's happening inside of your mind. When I first heard this, I was like, that's BS. That is so not true, because I am very smart and I get a lot of things done and my room is a mess. I grew up as a kid and a teenager. My house, the house too, but like my room specifically was a mess. It was a total pigsty. I get so much done. I'm so productive. Like, no, that is so not true. But what I realized is that my brain was just as much of a disaster as the world around me. I was so overwhelmed, and it was organized chaos because I could pick out the things I needed to do for other people, all while feeling like a complete overwhelmed mess. And once that realization hit, things made so much more sense, and then I became so much more motivated to keep my house clean, to keep my surroundings clean. I will be honest and say that it's still a struggle for me. I am 29 years old and I struggle to keep things clean. It is very, very difficult for me. And I'm realizing that it is because my brain is still a mess. This is not an excuse. It's an understanding. And the reason I share this is because I want you to have an understanding to where if you struggle to keep things clean, if you are feeling completely overwhelmed with your surroundings, you are so not alone. And you are probably overwhelmed because you're overwhelmed with the chaos and the clutter in your own mind. I want you to please, please, please give yourself some grace and realize that beating up on yourself is not going to help. It's only going to make the whole situation worse. I want to share with you this one tip that really shifted a lot for me. Start with just one thing. I don't want you to decide to clean the bathroom. I don't want you to decide to clean the entire kitchen. I don't want you to decide to put all the laundry away. I don't even want you to decide to just do all the dishes. I want you to decide to just wash one load of dishes. I want you to decide to just sweep the bathroom floor. I want you to decide to just wipe off the table. One thing. Not two things, not five things, not the whole room. One thing. If you're anything like me, your brain is going, but excuse me, if I can't do all of it, I can't do none of it. Because if I don't get it all done, that's gonna bug me, and I should have just gotten it all done, and I didn't, and then I'm gonna know how much of a failure I am. Seriously, so if I can't do it all, I'm not gonna do it at all. Get that? Because my brain does that to me all the time. As I'm sharing this, my brain is doing this to me. But it's not true. You are capable of just wiping off the counter. You are capable of putting the kids' oatmeal on the stove and doing a load of dishes really quick. I don't have a dishwasher. I have a double sink where I've got a wash and a rinse and a dish rack. So for me, one load of dishes is one sink full. And then after that sink full's done and it's all in the dish drying rack, I'm done. I walk away. It's about the time it takes to make my son's oatmeal. So whatever that one thing is, do that. And we, especially as single moms, need to take a deep breath and step back and stop expecting ourselves to do everything all the time. That's how things get so bad. If this ain't you, that's fine. Take what you need and leave the rest. But this is especially for my mamas with ADHD. This is for my mamas with depression. This is for my mamas who are working multiple jobs. This is for my mamas who have multiple kids that are doing it on their own. This is for my mamas who are so overwhelmed that they just want to quit, but they know that they can't and their kids are the only reason that they're here. This is for you. And I want you to know that 1, you're not a bad mom. 2, you're not a bad homemaker. You are overwhelmed and you are exhausted. You have a lot going on. And I, for one, know what it's like to see how much of a disaster everything is and to sit down and do nothing about it. Other people walk by and judge, but your brain is so done, it can't even fathom standing at the counter and doing dishes, because while you're standing there doing dishes, all you can think about is how the floor needs to be swept, and then while you're sweeping the floor, you're noticing how dirty the counters are, and you're like, shoot, I don't want to sweep the floor, because as soon as I wipe the counters, then the crumbs are going to be all over the floor, and I'm going to have to sweep again, but I can't wipe off the counters yet because they're covered in dishes, right? So you go to do the dishes, but you can't stop thinking about the floor. It's this cycle over and over. You are not alone, but it's one of those things that we have to kind of figure out a system. And I have truly found that just one thing seriously helps. The other day I was sitting down to work and I was so hungry, but I did not want to get up and go into the kitchen because I knew that the kitchen was trashed. If I went into the kitchen to see how trashed it was, I was going to be so stressed out that I wouldn't be able to focus on my work. But I already wasn't focusing on my work because I was focusing on how hungry I was. But I wasn't taking care of my hunger because I was so focused on how stressed the kitchen was. So instead of focusing on my work, I was stressing about the kitchen either way. So what I did is I stopped working, even though it was what I should have been doing. I walked away and I did one load of dishes. That one load of dishes felt like an exhale of a breath that I was holding for so long my lungs were burning. It felt so good to know that I had dishes for dinner that night. I didn't care about the rest of them. I didn't care about the dishes stacking up on the counter. All I cared about was that one load that was already in the sink, just so I would have dishes for dinner later that night. And then I went back to work. And I actually was twice as productive because I wasn't sitting there worrying about how hungry I am, for one. But I also wasn't stressing how bad the kitchen was. It seems like such a small thing that it's a waste of time. But it's such a small thing that it needs to be our number one priority. Same thing happened tonight. My son and I were getting ready for bed. I've been telling my son every night for the last week that we're gonna clean the living room. We're gonna clean the living room. Today's gonna be the day we're gonna clean the living room. All of a sudden, it would be bedtime and I'd be like, oh my gosh, it's too late, let's go to bed. So it reached a point where my son thought it was a habit that we just weren't going to clean the living room and I wasn't going to follow my word. But two, it reached a point where it just kept getting worse. Today, we had finished up dinner, we had watched our show for the night, and I was looking around this living room and I was like, I can't take it anymore. All I could think of was that it was now my son's bedtime and I had so much work to do tonight and I had to film this vlog and there was too much to do and I did not have time to do any cleaning, but it was all I could do. So I was like, you know what? All I'm gonna do is pick up the floor. I'm gonna have my son clean off the couch. And so once my son started cleaning up that mess on the couch, I realized that got done quicker than I thought. I swept everything into a pile. So I was like, all right, bud, can you clean up this pile on the floor? And he argued for a bit, but he picked up the pile on the floor. Well, I get the blankets folded because I just washed a bunch of blankets. So I needed to get them put away. So I turned on some music while he was picking up the floor. I was picking up and folding my blankets. And all of a sudden, everything felt so much better. In less than 20 minutes, things felt so much better. Even my son was like, oh my gosh, Mom, this feels so good. So then we're on a roll. And we both wanted to keep going. So I was like, all right, bud, I'm gonna ask for your help because we're gonna clean up the bathroom. I was like, we're not gonna scrub anything. We're not gonna wipe down the counter. We just need to sweep this floor. So we swept the floor in the bathroom. And then we were still on a roll. So we're like, all right, this is done. We had the music going. It was just this fun thing. We were now in a groove and it was good. And then I was like, you know what? We're just gonna sweep your bedroom floor. I was like, we don't even have to like clean up the whole pile right now, but I'm just gonna sweep everything into a pile so tomorrow you can take care of it. It doesn't feel so overwhelming and there's not crap everywhere. And we looked around and in less than an hour, we felt 30 times better because we started with one thing, but that one thing turned into two things, turned into three things, turned into four things, to now the bathroom is still a mess because I haven't wiped off the counter yet, and there's still some stuff on the love seat that I haven't taken care of, and I'm sure that I'm gonna have to go clean the cat litter again after I finish filming this. But you know what? It felt so much better because I did that one thing. And if I wouldn't have started with that one thing, I wouldn't have gotten to where I was. But here's the other thing with it. Is the other day when I did the dishes, I didn't do any more dishes that day just because I needed it for that moment and that still felt so good. So if the one turns into two, turns into three, turns into 10, that's great and I applaud that. But if your one turns into one, I celebrate and applaud that. Because if that one thing was enough to clear up your brain for you to focus on what you needed to focus on, then that's worth it. Then that one thing is all that was needed to do. It's not you should have done more. It's not you should have finished the dishes. You should have put all the laundry away. You should have. We're not worried about that. It's the one. That one thing. Oh, this is a lot more powerful than we think it is. I would love for you to tell me down in the comments, what is one thing that you're going to do today before you go to bed that's going to help you either wake up tomorrow and feel amazing or help you to be more focused on the task that you need to do right now. Thanks for hanging out, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.